The world is full of dangerous places, mountains, oceans, caves, and extreme environments where one mistake can be deadly. Some people explore these places for adventure, work, or survival, but not all make it back. In this video, we'll look at 5 real stories of tragic deaths in some of the most dangerous locations on Earth. These are true accounts of people who faced nature's harshest conditions and lost. It was October 30th, 2019, in Shanxi Province, China. Deng Yuchang, a university senior from Hunan, was excited to visit the Huashan scenic area. Known for its breathtaking views and steep trails, Huashan Mountain is one of China's most famous hiking destinations. Deng, like many other tourists, wanted to experience its beauty firsthand and capture stunning photos of her journey. However, this trip would end in tragedy. Throughout her hike, Deng shared updates with friends and family, posting pictures along the way. She was enjoying the adventure, unaware of the danger that lay ahead. Her final stop was at the West Peak Observation Deck, a well-known spot for capturing scenic views. Perched high above the ground, the deck provided a panoramic view of the mountains. However, it also had a serious safety issue. Its guardrails were only about 60 centimeters high, far too low to offer reliable protection. Deng wanted the perfect photo. She stood near the edge, adjusting her phone for the best angle. With her back to the steep drop, she leaned slightly forward to frame the shot. But as she focused on her phone, her foot slipped on the uneven surface. She lost her balance, and before she could recover, she fell backward over the low railing. The drop was over 2,000 meters. Her fall went unnoticed at first. It wasn't until the next day that search teams found her body. Authorities reviewed security footage, confirming that Deng had lost her balance while taking the selfie. The video showed that there were 5 tourists at the location that day, along with 2 staff members. Unfortunately, no one could react in time to prevent the accident. After the incident, Huashan Scenic Area Management addressed the tragedy, but denied responsibility. They claimed Deng's fall was due to her own actions and not the park's safety measures. They insisted that the guardrails met standard regulations and that the accident resulted from her loss of balance. As a form of humanitarian aid, they offered her family 40,000 Chinese yuan, or about $5,700. But they did not accept any fault. Deng's family was devastated and outraged. They argued that the 60-centimeter railings were too low to prevent accidents, especially on such dangerous terrain. They also criticized the slow response in searching for Deng after she fell. According to them, better barriers and quicker action could have made a difference. Their concerns extended to the park staff as well. While management claimed that staff members warned tourists about the risks, Deng's family believed the warnings were not enough. They questioned whether stronger precautions could have prevented the tragedy. The park, however, maintained that their staff did their job and could not be held responsible. The incident gained widespread media attention, sparking discussions about safety at Huashan Mountain. As pressure grew, the park eventually increased its financial offer to Deng's family, raising it to 170,000 Chinese yuan, or about $24,000. However, they continued to deny any liability, stating that Deng's actions were the sole cause of the accident. This case shed light on a bigger issue. Despite its stunning beauty, Huashan Mountain is one of the most dangerous tourist spots in the world. The mountain's narrow trails, steep cliffs, and minimal safety barriers make it a risky destination. Some sections even require visitors to walk on wooden planks attached to the cliffside. While the official number of fatalities remains unclear, unofficial reports suggest that dozens of people may lose their lives there each year. Deng's story is a heartbreaking example of the risks involved in visiting extreme environments. Many tourists get so focused on capturing the perfect photo that they underestimate the dangers around them. At places like Huashan, a single misstep can have devastating consequences. Her death also raised concerns about safety regulations at popular tourist destinations. Many scenic locations prioritize aesthetics over security, leaving visitors exposed to potential hazards. Deng's family fought for change, hoping that future tourists wouldn't face the same risks. But despite their efforts, Huashan's management stood firm in their stance. While the financial settlement provided some relief, it was clear that her family wanted more than compensation. They wanted accountability. Yet the park remained unwilling to take responsibility, insisting that the accident was unavoidable. Huashan Mountain continues to attract thousands of tourists each year. Its breathtaking landscapes make it a bucket list destination, but its dangers remain ever present. Deng Yuqiang's tragic fall serves as a painful reminder of the risks involved in exploring such extreme locations. It was November 27, 2017, in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, Ukraine. Dmitry Shkinder, a 33-year-old from Zhodino, Belarus, had spent years exploring abandoned places. This time, he and two friends entered Chernobyl 2, a restricted military site. For Dmitry, it was another adventure, but this one would be his last. Dmitry was part of a group known as stalkers, urban explorers who illegally venture into forbidden places, often taking extreme risks. Chernobyl, abandoned after the 1986 nuclear disaster, had become a popular yet dangerous destination for them. The area, still contaminated by radiation, was off-limits to the public, but that only made it more tempting for thrill-seekers. The Chernobyl 2 site was especially hazardous. It was home to the massive Duga radar, a towering structure from the Cold War era. Standing at 150 meters tall, this rusted steel giant was never meant to be climbed. But for many explorers, its eerie presence was irresistible. That day, the weather was rough. Strong winds and heavy rain made the conditions even riskier. Despite this, Dmitry and his male friend decided to climb the radar, while the woman in their group stayed on the ground. The climb was treacherous, but they pressed on, eager to reach the top. Dmitry was experienced. He had explored countless abandoned sites, but this time things went horribly wrong. As he climbed higher, a strong gust of wind hit. The rain had made the metal slick. In a split second, he lost his grip and fell 15 meters. His friends could do nothing but watch in horror. They immediately called the police, who arrived with an ambulance. But by the time help came, it was too late. Dmitry had not survived the fall. News of his passing shocked the urban exploration community. He was known for his skill and careful approach to dangerous places, making his accident even more tragic. Just before his fall, he had taken one last photo, an eerie image from the top of the Duga radar. That photo would be the final moment of his life. Authorities didn't just stop at investigating Dmitry's accident. His two friends were held accountable for illegally entering the site. Both were fined for violating strict safety regulations. The woman, despite staying on the ground, was also implicated. Officials prepared their deportation, while Dmitry's body was arranged for return to Belarus, where his family was waiting. Dmitry left behind a wife and 3 children who would never see him again. His passion for exploring abandoned places had taken him into dangerous territory one too many times. Though he had done this before, even the most skilled explorers are not immune to tragedy. Chernobyl 2 remains a haunting relic of the past, a place where history and danger collide. Urban explorers still push their limits, seeking the thrill of the unknown. But Dmitry's fate is a harsh reminder. Some places are abandoned for a reason. It was July 18, 2023, and 71-year-old Steve Curry set out on a hike through Death Valley National Park. A seasoned outdoorsman from Sunland, California, Steve was no stranger to difficult terrain. He had spent years hiking, rock climbing, and mountain biking, always pushing his limits. But on this particular day, Death Valley's extreme heat would prove too much. That afternoon, temperatures soared to 121 degrees Fahrenheit, or 49 degrees Celsius. Steve had already hiked from Golden Canyon to Zabriskie Point, a well-known lookout spot. There he briefly spoke to a reporter from the Los Angeles Times about the brutal heat. When asked why he was hiking in such conditions, he simply replied, "Why not?" He seemed confident, wearing a sun hat, sunscreen, and carrying a backpack. But the desert had its own rules. Death Valley is one of the hottest places on Earth. Its lowest point, Badwater Basin, sits 282 feet below sea level, making it a heat trap. In 1913, the park recorded the highest temperature ever documented, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, or 57 degrees Celsius. Even today, summer temperatures frequently exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit, or 48 degrees Celsius. The canyon walls intensify the heat, reflecting the sun's rays and creating even harsher conditions. Despite warnings from park officials, Steve continued his hike. As he made his way back from Zabriskie Point, the heat took its toll. By 3:40 p.m., he collapsed near a restroom at the Golden Canyon trailhead. Bystanders immediately called for help. Park rangers arrived quickly and tried to revive him using cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and an automated external defibrillator or AED, but it was too late. His wife, Rima, was devastated. She hadn't known where Steve had gone that morning and expected him to return home later that day. When she saw a coroner's note on her door, her worst fears were confirmed. Steve was gone. Speaking to reporters, Rima described Steve's love for adventure. He was happiest in nature, camping under the stars or tackling difficult trails. But she also shared an important lesson. The heat is not a foe you can overcome. She hoped others would take Death Valley's dangers more seriously. Death Valley's extreme conditions make it one of the most dangerous places for hikers in the summer. The park is vast, with little shade and almost no water sources. Even experienced hikers can be caught off guard by the rapid onset of heat-related illness. Heat stroke, the body's failure to cool itself, can occur when internal temperatures rise above 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. Symptoms include dizziness, nausea, confusion, and unconsciousness. If untreated, it can quickly lead to organ failure. Golden Canyon, where Steve collapsed, is far from emergency services, making rescues even more difficult. The high temperatures also make it hard for helicopters to take off, limiting air rescue options. In 2023, Death Valley experienced 29 days of temperatures above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or 43 degrees Celsius. That same summer, another visitor, a 65-year-old man, died after his car broke down in the park. His air conditioning had failed, leaving him stranded in the heat. Despite these dangers, people continue to visit the park during the hottest months. Some underestimate the risks, while others are drawn to the challenge. Park officials strongly advise against hiking after 10 a.m. in the summer and stress the importance of proper preparation, staying hydrated, wearing light clothing, and knowing when to turn back. Steve Curry knew the outdoors well, but even his experience couldn't protect him from Death Valley's relentless heat. His story is a reminder that nature's power should never be taken lightly. No level of skill or preparation can change the fact that extreme heat is dangerous, even fatal. Rima's words carry a powerful message. The heat is not a foe you can overcome. Steve's final adventure was meant to be another exciting journey, but it ended in tragedy. His story is a reminder that when facing the elements, safety should always come first. It was the evening of January 2025. Eve McCarthy, a 21-year-old student from Shankill, Dublin, was rock climbing in the Spanish countryside near the Caminito del Rey. This location, known for its narrow pathways clinging to steep cliffs, is one of the most dangerous hiking trails in the world. Once deemed too risky for public access, it has since become a popular tourist destination, despite its history of fatal accidents. Eve, a final-year physiology student at University College Dublin, was climbing with a male partner near the Swiss sector, a rugged area close to the Arabic staircase. These sections are infamous for their steep cliffs and narrow trails, where one wrong step can be deadly. At around 7 p.m., while descending a particularly unstable part of the route, tragedy struck. Both Eve and her climbing partner lost their footing. She fell nearly 500 feet into the ravine below, and sadly, she did not survive. Her companion, however, had a stroke of luck, managing to grab onto a rock covered in bushes just in time. He clung there until emergency responders arrived. Rescue teams worked quickly to reach him, finding him shaken but alive. Eve's body was recovered soon after. Her passing was the second fatal accident in this area in less than a month. Eve was deeply loved by her family, friends, and colleagues. Known for her outgoing personality and adventurous spirit, she had a passion for travel and exploration. She worked at the King's Inn pub in Dalkey, where she was well liked for her humor and warm presence. When news of her death spread, the pub closed for 3 days in her memory. Her co-workers and customers shared their grief online, remembering her as someone who brought joy to everyone she met. Her parents, Helen and Paul McCarthy, were devastated. In a heartfelt eulogy, they described their daughter as bright, determined, and full of life. Eve had a talent for making friends and bringing people together. She loved sports, especially basketball, and though she wasn't the tallest on the court, her speed and determination made her a strong player. Her mother recalled how their home was always filled with Eve's friends. She had a way of making everyone feel welcome. Her funeral at St. Anne's Church in Shankill drew a massive crowd. The church was packed, with many more people watching from the parish center and online. Former classmates, co-workers, and neighbors gathered to say goodbye, showing just how many lives she had touched. Eve's death was not an isolated incident. Just a month earlier, a 20-year-old British climber lost his life in the same area after a fall. Despite efforts to revive him, he did not survive. These back-to-back tragedies highlighted the extreme dangers of Caminito del Rey. Originally built in the early 1900s for workers to access a dam, the trail fell into disrepair and was eventually closed due to safety concerns. Though it has since been renovated, the pathway remains perilous. Running through the El Chorro Gorge, the trail is lined with steep cliffs that drop hundreds of feet. Some sections are only a few feet wide, making balance crucial. Many visitors underestimate the risks. While safety measures like barriers have been added, they don't eliminate the dangers entirely. The combination of high altitudes, narrow pathways, and occasional unstable sections means that even experienced hikers face significant risks. Eve's death, along with the recent fatality before hers, was a heartbreaking reminder of how unforgiving this trail can be. Her passing continues to resonate, not just with those who knew her, but within the climbing and hiking communities. Caminito del Rey remains a destination for thrill seekers, but it's also a place where small mistakes can have devastating consequences. Though her life was tragically cut short, Eve McCarthy's memory lives on through the people who loved her. She will always be remembered for her kindness, adventurous spirit, and the way she brought people together. It was a Saturday in 2015 when 24-year-old Kristi Kafkalutis set out on a hiking trip to Trolltunga, Norway, with two friends. Kristi, a student from Melbourne, had recently moved to Norway for an exchange program at the University of Bergen, studying music and cultural studies. She had a love for adventure and nature, and this hike was meant to be another exciting experience in her journey. Trolltunga, or Troll's Tongue, is one of Norway's most famous landmarks. The rock formation extends 700 meters above Lake Ringadalsvatnet, offering breathtaking views. But reaching it isn't easy. The hike is long, physically demanding, and can be dangerous, especially for those unfamiliar with the terrain. Despite the risks, the spot is popular among hikers and photographers, with many pushing themselves to the edge for the perfect picture. Kristi and her friends were part of a larger group of about 30 people who made the trek that day. After hours of hiking, they finally reached the famous cliff. Tourists were scattered across the area, taking in the scenery and snapping photos. As Kristi and her friends prepared to do the same, they noticed another group posing at the edge. Wanting to avoid blocking their shot, Kristi stepped aside, moving along a narrow side path to rejoin her friends. The path wasn't stable. It was covered in loose rocks, and as Kristi moved forward, the ground beneath her suddenly gave way. She lost her balance and fell. The drop was estimated to be between 200 to 300 meters. The fall was silent. Her friends, just a few steps ahead, didn't hear a scream. It wasn't until they turned around and saw she was gone that panic set in. Tourists who witnessed the fall confirmed what had happened. Frantic, Kristi's friends tried calling emergency services, but the remote location had poor cell reception. Hours passed before a rescue team could be dispatched. A helicopter eventually arrived, landing on a nearby plateau just before midnight. By the next day, an alpine rescue team hiked to recover her body. Back in Australia, Kristi's family was devastated. Her mother, Millie Kafkalutis, quickly addressed rumors circulating in the media. Early reports suggested Kristi had fallen while taking a selfie, but Millie clarified that this wasn't true. Kristi hadn't been standing at the edge or trying to take photos. She had simply been moving around another group when the accident occurred. Millie stated that it was an accident and emphasized that Kristi wasn't taking a selfie or standing at the edge. Bringing Kristi's body home proved to be another painful challenge for the family. Due to ongoing investigations in Norway, it would take up to 10 days before they could bring her back to Australia. The wait was agonizing, but throughout it all they received an outpouring of support from both Norway and Australia. Kristi's accident raised serious concerns about safety at Trolltunga. Despite its popularity, the area remains largely unregulated. There are no safety barriers and the terrain is uneven, making it easy for hikers to lose their footing. Many visitors arrive unprepared, wearing improper shoes or lacking the physical endurance needed for the long and difficult trek. Tour guide Thomas Ruud, familiar with the risks of Trolltunga, explained that the site had seen numerous rescue operations over the years. Hikers had suffered broken bones, gotten lost in the dark, or required emergency assistance. However, Kristi's fall was the first fatal accident recorded there. Ruud also noted how social media had contributed to the site's popularity. drawing in tourists who may not be fully aware of the dangers. Another growing concern is overcrowding. On weekends, hundreds of tourists gather at Trolltunga, and some even stay overnight to watch the sunrise and sunset. Reports of reckless behavior, including people drinking near the cliffside, have only added to the dangers. Christie's story is a painful reminder of how unpredictable nature can be. She had a bright future ahead of her, an adventurous spirit who loved exploring the world. But even the most breathtaking places carry risks, especially when safety measures are minimal. As news of Christie's passing spread, tributes poured in. Friends, family, and even strangers were deeply affected by her story. To those who knew her, she wasn't just a student in Norway. She was a daughter, a sister, and a friend with dreams and ambitions. Her loss left a void that could never be filled. Trolltunga remains a place of incredible beauty, but for those who knew Christie, it will forever be linked to tragedy. Her accident was a heartbreaking reminder that even the most picturesque destinations can be dangerous. And while adventure is something to embrace, preparation and caution should never be overlooked.